Hello, and welcome to another episode of my Alpha Centauri Let's Play. This is Northstar. Hope you folks are all well. I'm here. My continent, exploring the last little bits of it. The Spartans are in my southwest. I've invested heavily in my military to try and make sure that they are contained. My might rating is considered potent with nothing beyond laser technology. I have a lot of recon rovers. I mean, a lot. For this having tech stagnation on, I have 27 recon rovers, 2 laser skim ships, a scout rover, 2 uni rovers, and 18 scout patrols. Big army. It really is choking out my civilian economy. Sorry for the mic bump there. And that's a thing. By the way, before getting further, those welcome new to my channel, welcome. Those returning back, welcome back. But I should tell you guys who are new, I have long COVID. I'm not always the quickest. I'm disabled for long COVID, which is why I need this YouTube to make money, so I can monetize it, so I can survive. Financially, have more secure future, and maybe be able to get out of the country. It might be going fascist. And as a democratic socialist, I'm likely to be targeted for political persecution. So, but I doubt any country will offer asylum to, especially leftists from America. So I really need to be able to have enough money I can just do a work visa, self-employed, YouTubing, which a couple countries at least allow people. But my channel doesn't make any money; it's not monetized. So, yeah, survival. I mean, it's not like I can't shut up and be protected. Some people say that. No, your political views. If you've ever spent any time on social media, it's documented. You know that like the FBI and NSA have documentation on everyone. They watch the entire country. Big Brother is watching. We're not at all as free as you think. And even if I do my Google history and it was quiet, they would still probably come after me. So. Plus, what's happening is really unjust. I'd rather speak out against it. I do it in my politics videos where I do that. Political videos are in a separate playlist. But try and protect their people who are probably literally dying at this point in CCOT. So, it's important. And there's Gaza, and there's, you can't just be quiet while people die just because they haven't come for you yet. That's how you get the first they came for kind of situation. Anyways. Military spending chokes out the civilian economy. I was talking about that. I mean, this happens in the game where support costs for units. You can see 3 minerals, for instance, out of the 6 this base produces. So half the minerals just go to supporting units, which, I mean, 3 of them are military, 2 are civ. You get 2 for free. So the scout patrols are actually coming out of the free portion, but if I didn't have them, it would be coming out of formers. Scout patrols are more for guarding against worms, but I have more recon rovers at other bases. So you see the idea. It's more than half of my mineral production just goes to support my military. In the real world, it's true as well. People think war is good for the economy. Not really. It gets a little more complicated because you have the phenomenon of deficit spending, which isn't in this game. And if it did, it would probably exist something along the line of press this button, get free energy credits now, but have to pay quote interest on that back over every single turn forever until you pay it back. Acquiring debt. And so deficit spending now on military stuff can generate jobs, but it cuts into future jobs growth because the government either has to raise taxes to be able to keep up the interest on the debt in the future, even if it doesn't pay it back, or engage in deficit spending where the debt just keeps growing bigger because taxes aren't raised enough to keep up with previous spending levels, like the same consistent spending levels on whatever was not being spent in the military, even if the military spending is ended. So just the baseline levels, if taxes don't go up, then there's that interest in the debt, which will cause the debt to just keep growing. unless you raise taxes further. And taxes, of course, will cut into the economic growth of a country and reduce people's standard of living, because some of the money people keep that they would taxes, they would reinvest, and investment is ultimately what drives economic growth, not exactly spending. I mean, there's some truth to supply side economics. Some, of course, it doesn't work for reasons of when you give money to the very rich, they they very often just sit on it and they don't invest very efficiently. Surprisingly, a lot of rich people are actually very bad with money, and on top of that, um, you need a certain amount of demand for an economy to even work, and the rich have so much money at this point that just giving them more, even a little more investment, is useless if there's no demand to keep the economy going. So that supply side economics could have worked if the country was much poorer and there was much less inequality, but at the inequality levels, say the U.S., it doesn't work at all. um, and you get crises of overproduction, which actually capitalism always tends towards. I mean, Marx and Engels identified this trend a long time ago, and it's true. It's part of what contributes to the business cycle, where every 4 to 7 years there's an economic crash, like clockwork for over 150 years in the United States. It's been documented fact. Uh, People forget half of these crashes, but you know, then you like watch some history program, you'd be like, the crash of 1910, the crash of 19 whatever, like just there's crash after crash. I was like, I never learned about this, or I don't remember hearing this in the history books, because maybe you did and forgot. But yeah, every 4 to 7 years there's been an economic crash. There's there's boom periods between the crashes, but um, yeah. But anyways, debt slows future economic growth because it carries interest. It's not free, and it can contribute. Deficit spending can also contribute to inflation, which is a kind of de facto tax on people. So even if MMTers will point out that debt is less directly harmful, um, than one might assume. It's funny because they basically teach people a lot of basic economic stuff that all economists agree with, and then they have some conclusions that are not justified by the very things they just analyzed. I actually did a political video on how MMT is a scam, and it is. They tell you a bunch of true things, and then they say some complete non sequiturs, which really means it does not follow. Things are not justified by what they just taught you about how debt works. Because they themselves point out that the point of taxes is to prevent inflation. If you run a massive deficit, you're going to have, number one, inflation now, and number two, you're going to have interest on that debt in the future. So even inflation, there are periods in the U.S. where they've had to set interest rates so low they considered same negative, in some countries did in Europe, just to prevent deflation. And that's a period where deficit spending is obviously probably a good idea. But then down the line, you got to pay that debt back. Otherwise, you got interest on the debt at a time where inflation is a problem, like now. And that makes it worse. You need to set even higher taxes to prevent inflation at that point, which is also the madness of let's cut taxes while they're in the middle of an inflationary crisis. That's not solid economics. Of course, neoliberals, MAGA tards, neoliberalism is, well, I mean, the ideology of both the GOP until recently, where it's taken a fascist turn, and the Democrats. They don't follow. It doesn't follow solid economics. It never has. Neoliberalism, an ideology that's built on revival of classical economics, known as neoclassical economics, and classical economics was proven to be a bunch of bullshit and abandoned. And that's where you get Keynesian. And Keynesianism is at least based on solid economics within the scope of capitalism, though it is completely blind to certain features of how the economy works that Marxists have pointed out over and over. How Keynes is, within certain limits, correct, but he misses some very important things, and that's why Keynesianism can hit crises that it can't resolve, like the crisis that led to Nixon abandoning the gold standard in 1972, though that was largely because of the Vietnam War, and because Nixon wanted to spend massive amounts on the Vietnam War, but there was no way to do that under the Bretton Woods economic system and under Keynesian economics. So he abandoned Keynesianism, he abandoned Bretton Woods, screwed over the whole planet, created a system that de facto taxes the whole planet to support U.S. deficit spending on the military during Vietnam. Um, Screws over the French and the Soviets in doing so because they both had large foreign currency reserves, U.S. dollars, and this sets off inflation, which many people tell you is a de facto tax on ordinary people. And inflation helped fund the Vietnam War. And even after the Vietnam War was over, inflation continued, but that was directly due to the spending on the Vietnam War. So all the military spending. And military spending ultimately makes the rich richer. It may, supported by deficit spending, create jobs in the short run, but ultimately it's a transfer of wealth to the billionaire class. So the reason I comment on all that, and besides the fact that it was on my mind, I had a discussion with a family member who is a lost cause, convince him of anything Marxist, but it does allow me to sharpen my arguments. Social engineering, okay, you can't see it yet, but eventually unlock free market economics and fundamentalism, and that's probably what I'll go with. People may say, oh, those work against each other. They balance each other's weaknesses, though. This is the problem with learning alpha strategies. Democratic and free market are a typical builder combination early in a game, because democratic and free market are democratic and planned. Planned will help you boom in nailing crossfire expansion. It'll allow with golden ages or Children's Crashes. And here, but with nailing crossfire, you just can run a golden age locally and base, democratic planned, boom. Democratic free market for teching up quicker, especially if you're not running tech stagnation with it. It's less worthwhile. But democratic costs -2 support, which, just to show you, I won't actually adopt this. It would cost 24 energy. I can only support 1 free unit per base, no free minerals for new bases. And growth is more of a builder thing. Fundamentalist, on the other hand, synergizes with high military spending. People say, oh, do it when you're behind. Oh, do it if your military spending is high, which is often if you're either behind or in a Cold War. You either, like in a multiplayer game, you'd always spend so highly in military if you're behind, and you don't want to make yourself such a porcupine that no one will try and conquer you, even though you're poor and weak. So +1 morale, which, if I remember correctly how this works, on newly trained units, they get permanent morale level. On units that already exist, they get temporary level that you only keep while you're in fundamentalist. Fundamentalist politics in a society behind a strong dogmatic religion. Okay, it talks about religion, but some of the factions that can do it are clearly not doing it in a religious sense. Basically, I don't like any of these descriptions. Some of them are just clearly bullshit. Planned economics is clearly socialist, or at least social democracy, but often socialist. Fundamentalist with some factions, like the Peacekeepers, is probably not religious at all. Certainly not freeing. It's more of a strong dogmatic ideology. Or free market fundamentalism, which is maybe it's like libertarian shit. But +1 morale, that'll make my military stronger. +2 probe, that'll help my probe teams, which can help in a war. And -2 research is partly counteracted by the extra economy from free market. So that will help, even though the lab points, the extra lab points they'll get from the extra energy will actually be less efficiently used to do the -2 research, but it'll help me at least not fall behind while running fundamentalist in tech. Systems rendered suddenly poor by the actions of unscrupulous moguls may revolt against their energy fanned masters. Even they recognize that in this description, although there's some serious problems with how certain ones like fundamentalist and planned are described. But yes, one of the reasons, though, is very high military spending. Most of my minerals are choked in unit support. So spending energy on new units becomes a lot more relatively important because I don't have that many minerals left. Planned works great early in a military buildup, Plus, when industry makes everything cheaper, your minerals will go further. But free market will increase the amount of energy you can spend rushing. Even though everything will be a little more expensive to rush than under planned, you have so much more energy you're feeding into the system. You're going to get more minerals out of rushing than you would under planned overall. I think that's even true if you're like the free drones, but it's definitely true with the peacekeepers. Everything is in the context of your faction, of course, in secret projects, and fundamentals will help counteract the -3 planet because my units will have a higher morale level. So the -3 planet will hurt my combat against mine worms. It'll also lead to more eco damage. And the -5 police, I will have some drone problems. That won't directly help things in any way. The fundamentalists, one strategy I can use to deal with is, say, I could, at least when I'm at peace, I can try and get a lot of the units to do exploration support from, say, I was thinking maybe World Food Program, because their populations can grow rapidly and soon they're going to have a lot more minerals. But because it's going to be a big base, I'm going to have more drone problems to begin with. So then I get pacifism drones here for units that are outside my borders, because what happens is units outside your borders will create drones at the base they're supported from. And at that point, and this won't be for a while that I'm switching this, but I may do this if I haven't taken down the Spartans yet. I'll need Secrets of the Human Brain for fundamentalism and industrial economics for free market. But then I can nerve stable pops because the base is already having drone problems and probably running a lot of specialists, even with running some specialists even without the pacifism drones. So concentrate the drone problems in one area, base far from my capital where I'm not going to have a lot of energy production anyway. So this is more mineral focused base naturally, and that will help with putting a lot of units on this base for support without choking out all mineral production. And yes, the nerve stapling is a minor atrocity, and we'll get other factions to sanction me, which is why I don't want to do it much each time. It'll add 10 years of sanctions, but they do expire. I don't think it does any permanent diplomatic damage with factions you haven't contacted yet, and I'm not even sure if it does with ones you have. I think it may just be while you're under sanctions. Could be expiring opinion, or it could be permanent, but right now I only have contact with the Spartans. I suppose there's risk to it, but it's something I consider as an extreme measure. I may never do this. And yeah, I'm doing this. Peacekeepers may say they're good guys. There's definite contradictions in the liberalism of, well, any ideology can have contradictions. Even as the free drones, take a more Soviet Union direction with police state if you want. Planned police state. Would that lead to crippling inefficiency, though? The way the game does it. Maybe you can only... No, you can only do that as Yang, actually, because he's immune to inefficiency from, well, anything, actually. So you could do that as Yang, which is a caricature of socialism. You can do it as a free drones, but then all your energy production will have to come from specialists because they're not affected by inefficiency. So you can run librarians and technicians just enough to support your facility maintenance and get some tech points at a couple research bases. But you can theoretically do it. I'm not saying it's a good idea. Gonna have that scout patrol and defend that rover in case of worms, because I'd rather not lose rovers. Although we could disengage. It's out here. We did that in case worms spawn from that. You know what? Actually, fine. I'll take a risk because there's still a lot of land to explore. Well, not a lot, but there's still some all through here. Maybe there's another unipod left to pop. But yeah, these are the kind of extreme measures. If it takes that to beat the Spartans, the Peacekeepers getting all fundamentalist with their ideology, very extreme about the UN Charter, maybe turning into almost a pseudo-religion, or even there may be some religious leaders among the Peacekeepers, then maybe that's what I have to do to win. And free market to support my very low remaining mineral production. And fundamentalists to make at least the mineworm problems manageable. I'll start to get quite a bit of eco damage, probably, and quite a bit of mineworm problems as a result, because when you get your third fungal bloom, you'll start getting mineworms from those. With free market over at World Health Organization, I'm going to have real fungus problems and mineworm problems around it if I run free market. But to station some military units there. Fundamentals will help make it a little more feasible to deal with that. And the probe effects will help with my probe team is actually able to infiltrate Sparta. So yeah, I also need free market to fund those probe team actions. So for my particular situation, that's an option. I guess I want to discuss that, but here I've been talking 20 minutes and I don't know. Maybe this is, it was a bad idea. Probably was.
Request confirmation.
Monitoring agency can do a transport. No real reason to rush it this turn, though, rather than later. Can have a transport already here before this condenser is finished. Because then I'm going to want to move that former quickly over here to the now rainy tile and start doing a farm mine. Yeah, one of the kind of almost the closest thing this game comes to deficit spending debts is that I'm borrowing from the future by doing things like prioritizing minerals to spend on my military now, which is going to hurt my future economic growth versus more of an investment in nutrients to grow my population and energy to grow my tech. Surviving the here and now against the Spartans, who are the game leader, it's because they're on the monsoon jungle. They wouldn't be nearly this scary otherwise. The AI does know enough to crowd lots of bases into the monsoon jungle, I'm pretty sure. Though I can only see two. There might be like a base here, base here, base here. If they're smart, they crowding lots of little bases. Because otherwise they'll only get up to size 7 and then they can't grow further. Plus smaller bases, easier to deal with drone problems. It allows the Spartans to take more advantage of their higher police rating naturally, because a certain number of military units that can act as police per base. Notice that, per base. So, okay. I moved the ship. Give me a second. Alright, sorry about that. I didn't want you guys to sit around while I thought, given how much I just talked earlier and probably lost some people's attention. I apologize. I had to think a little bit what I wanted to do with this rover. Different options. I think beginning next turn I want to remember to switch their support. You know what? 4 minerals left, I can hurry that. So I'll do this now, actually, and then I can't forget. It's because it was getting support from civil rights, I think. Or no. Monitoring agency? I think it was here, but that doesn't make sense. Anyways. Should have saved before that. I don't even know where. What I thought would have sworn that was getting its support from civil rights. Or no, this one is. So this had to be monitoring agency, which transport, but it's gonna have 2 rovers come and get their support there, or hydrology council. So if they do monitoring agency, they can get back to the front quicker. So probably want that. Anyhow, moving it along, trying to get back up here. The case of that unit that had been defending the former when it was on this solar panel tile. I raised the elevation. Yeah, I moved it so it could get support from the HQ, which I'll rush the rover next turn. If I press L, this thing will board instead of if I hold that prevent disengaging, but it's not going to. Just have to skip the turn, I suppose. I could try and patrol a little. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. See if there was an island to deep there or something weird. As unlikely as that is. I'm back. Doesn't hurt. Alright, where's that? There's that mine worm. I'm like, where's that mine worm? There's that mine worm. Okay. Might as well attack. Well, I can attack instead of
turn complete.
Defending. Got an awful lot of energy now. No, if the Spartans end up demanding tribute, I'm in trouble. Especially if the AI is smart enough to blame me for that worm. I kind of unleashed on them and decided not to. They probably don't even know about that since it stayed in the fungus. And the AI is almost certainly not smart enough to get annoyed. Either way, I am doing military buildup because I expect it before all the Spartans will demand tribute again. I'll tell them no. They'll declare war. 30 energy credits bought me a few turns. I don't want to keep giving them all my money. Especially not when I'm already spending like crazy on the military. Yeah, next turn I'm going to swap off this, so I have to get those rovers. Border agents. No, they can't. I'm going to have to run the borehole for a turn. Because, yeah. It's going to take 2 turns to swap the support. Oh, well. It's 10 to grow. If I were to swap into planned economics, I could get the base to grow, I think. But again, I don't have the farm for it. Alright. Just looking for things going to be rushing, or can rush right now.
Request confirmation.
No. Transport monitoring agency.
Request confirmation.
1 more energy than Question is, do I have a use for that right this second? Or very near at hand? No, I don't. Just another place to recon rover. I suppose, though, it takes a second for that rover to go upgrade. This turn, if I did nothing, it'd be 3 to completion. Next turn, and then complete this with no overflow. And end up with 0 surplus. None at all. Because the transport would cost 1 mineral and the 2 rovers cost a mineral. I guess that's fine to stagnate at 0 until the base grows, at which point it would get minerals from either forest or that tile. If it's only gonna have maybe 1 scout patrol. Maybe a laser squad. Laser squad. The reason is it's going to take a long time to get that unit out. By the time I get it out, I'll probably be a lot closer to having stolen nonlinear mathematics and be able to upgrade the infantry. Of course, I might just swap that to a probe team. We'll see. Have to play with probe team design, see if I can do an infantry-based one that costs less or something. Like one that has less movement. Alright. Well, you know what? Instead of swapping around from bases, base operation status. That tells me turns to complete stuff, not turns to grow. Citizens, garrison, production. Why isn't there a growth? I'd like to see pop growth. What does this exclamation mark mean? Civil rights, exclamation mark. Does that like mean high support? Next place to actually grow will be either Mountain Command or Forest Agency. Mountain Command, I think that's even before the HQ. Yep. Reach size 3 and work a forest, I guess. At which point I'll stop growing. Probably end up working that river forest, because the difference between that and a normal forest is the second energy that actually doesn't get wasted. At that point I'll have completed this. Condenser. I can work the condenser tile, which... Yep, it's rolling terrain, so it'll have 1 mineral. Cool, cool, cool. Alright, save and end the turn. Sure, some of you are very impatient to see that. I'm already 34 minutes here.
Production complete.
Colony pod complete. Into a recon rover. Wow, that's loud, that noise. Just gonna turn the volume down a little. My brain gets kind of, once I get more and more tired with long COVID, noises start to become irritating to me sometimes. Louder noises. So I apologize. Everything's kind of, I think it's similar to the way people with autism stuff get noise sensitivity, but yeah, a lot of symptoms of long COVID are similar to a lot of other diseases, whether ME/CFS or IBS, like symptoms with the bowel. It's like a lot of these symptoms aren't unique to this disease, but this combination of them. God, there's still assholes who go around trying to deny it's real. Pisses me off.
Terraform complete.
People saying they're just evil, terrible people, though. They're not saying it because they believe that it's not real. They're saying it because they're just trolls. Wait a second. It doesn't cost anything to load. Why don't I move this one further tile along? Oh, because if a mine worm came here, it could get attacked. If the transfer fails, it'll use its full movement either way. Yeah, it's fine where it is. Safer there. Performers use its turn. Transport's out of moves. Need to keep searching for worms.
Indigenous life form.
There we go. Speak of the devil, he shall appear. It's a famous saying. It's kind of superstitious nonsense, I assume. Although, cross ones over real quick. I highly doubt there's anything to it. Never hurts to. But, our recon rover has performed admirably. Has now achieved hardened status. That's why I did it. Besides the fact the Planet Pearls actually pay for 3/4 of the cost of replacing the rover. And between that and if, say, I have 5 turns of not having as many military units, it doesn't really cost me anything to do the engagements. But I'm doing this mainly so we can get more hardened and even veteran units that'll perform better against the Spartans. Plus, if they're mine worms this bad that were just there and not from moving to the xenofungus, it makes it safer for my formers and stuff. And my infrastructure, because, farms and such can get eaten by mine worms. Suppose I should keep this here in case a mine worm crawled out of the fungus precisely when I move it here, and so I can attack it instead of having to defend. So unlikely as that whole scenario is. Trying to figure out the scout patrol. Yeah, I'll put it here. That way you can cover this forest tile. There's a mineworm that rolls into it out of this fungus. I'd probably see it coming. If it came from here, right, visibility, if it's actually still hidden. 1, 2. I suppose it can't really happen. Oh well. Really, then it's just a backup for getting units down. For getting unit down here if the Spartans attack, maybe. That's about all it's good for. It's 2 rovers getting support from monitoring agency next turn.
Request confirmation.
Although, I could just hurry this now. Be done at the same time. What if the scout patrol swap to getting hydrology council support? Yeah, that'd be good. As the colony pod will be back up to +2. Yeah, I'll do this because the laser squad might have use eventually, or I might just
confirmation.
use it as a placeholder for user squad. You know what? No, make it a recon rover. I think. Might be, well, I'll tell you, steel non-linear mathematics. Even once this isn't gonna be that long. Where I do want to produce infantry is where they don't have to move as far because they have less mobility to get to border agency, or for that matter, defending monitoring agency. I need to get this monolith. Yeah, I'll do the infantry. Anyhow, given everything that's gone on here, I might want veteran over there. Yeah. Yeah.
Terraform complete.
Settle for better. New thermal borehole has raised temperatures dramatically near UN border agency. Solve for better defending the borehole informer. Right then. Hmm. 8 plus, it stops giving a number after 8, but 8 minerals and 2 energy. Nice. Fortunately, stagnant growth, but geez, I only have 1 rover in the base. All right. Server is going to help defend. 4 rovers is pretty thin defenses. If the Spartans attack and show up with like 8 infantry or something. And only even viable at all. They show up with lots of laser squads or impact squads, and I can attack them and do collateral damage on top of that. And rovers can blitz if they're next to stack. They can attack it twice in a turn if they want. Yep, 4 rovers and all, just hanging out and doing sentry duty. Set the third so that it doesn't ask me for moves next turn. This damaged rover needs to get back to base, though. Heal up. I suppose I should have done that before moving that rover in case of mine worm spawns, but thankfully I didn't get dinged. Server needs to get back to heal as well. I think I should have done this one first because I didn't want them to fail and be on the open where the Spartans could see it. In case they wander right up to the border. Of course, they go there, they're probably attacking, so maybe not. Thinking about being asked for tribute, but if they show up with units here, it's probably an attack stack that I want to know about. Alright. Anyhow. Stack a couple rovers here. Higher chance of being able to get into one of these fungus squares here to guarantee this. Get back. If it fails, and even if it succeeds, well, I want to scout north first anyhow. So go to this square. These tours each have a 1-3 chance. Just looking for pods and stuff. You never know where you'll find them. At least knowing the lay of the land is good. Makes my bases a little better positioned on average and fun. I was going there to hunt for mine worms. Didn't find any, but if I had 2 rovers that could try and attack them. Seem to be more common outside the range of cities, though, for whatever reason. Another farm built. Rolling moist. That's moist too. 3 moist tiles all adjacent. Or if I count that, which I probably shouldn't. Might be a decent place for a condenser. Plus I need to grow this base faster at this point. swap off of the solar panels at that point. Base will be, let's see, 3 turns of not sort of 6 nutrients to grow. And we get up to a 4 surplus. So maybe it'll be done a turn earlier. Let's use a transport to have some of the farmers move sooner. I think though I'm gonna do this. Boom. Use a transport to move the rover further.
Request confirmation.
Excuse me. Sorry, trying to decide whether to pull back a rover from there or... Yeah. I'll defend this with a veteran rover since it's 2 formers and they're going to be working on a big piece of infrastructure with a condenser unit. Plus there'll be a transport moving in soon to pull one of the formers out without wasting a turn, since I don't need the condenser done quite as soon as 2 can get it done. So one of them can work to get it, contribute like a turn, and then get pulled. Or 2 turns actually, and then get pulled. Should get the condenser done 6, just before the end of 6, and then I can work the condenser 1 turn. Alright, anyhow. Give me a sec more. Oh, sorry. Alright, need to swap this to support from here. Did pay off to delay a little, because this rover as is gonna be a while before I can even hurry it. But I want minerals here where there's a command center, so. Anyways. Discipline rover will... I guess just hang out. But I'm just going to head south by way of monitoring agency. Get one of my best units to the front. This thing needs to defend, but if I hit sentry, it'll board. Wait for a second. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Oh, there is. HQ has this unit. She moved here to get support locally. Go back to civil rights at this point. And it was getting support from civil rights. So I shifted its support to here, so the World Health won, which was here, so instead of having it go back. This may have been some nonsense shuffling of units. I did keep a unit here on standby in case of something bad happening. Either way, I'm about to place another. Let's look for mine worms. Nope, none found. Failed to move anyhow. I don't think it matters if the unit succeeds in the move. Just trying gives a chance of mine worms. And now this one can also head south. Keeping units near the border. I think this last unit around here hasn't moved. Yep. Cool. If it made it there, it could have prevented these from having to do what they did. Anyhow. Scout patrol back. Some xenofungus. Might to be around somewhere. Presence that nutrient resource suggests any pods in the area have already been popped, but maybe not further to the east. If, say, a Spartan scout patrol got eaten by worms before it could explore further, or damaged and went back to base to repair. You never know what happened. Cool. Want to do that to speed up movement. I'm more comfortable stacking more in 2 units than fungus. The unit rover where it won't suffer collateral. Maybe I even want to send it back. Not risk it on more exploration. Alright. Very close on this rec commons to completion. Give me a sec to plan this move, part of the move. As usual, saving you guys a moment. The things I talked about before not quite making sense. So I didn't want that loaded. It's because it was on sentry duty. Good thing I get attacked by worms. Couldn't have defended. Transport, go into the base. so the transport is safe from collateral damage instead of stacking. Because I do that, maximize the amount of cheap minerals I get. That. Want me to hurry this. Next turn costs 13 to get 6 minerals. I should start investing a little more in rushing units, otherwise my energy credit's going to be out of control, the reserves. Getting all this money sitting and not being used for anything. Strengthen my military because of Spartans. Anyways. Start on the condenser. Second condenser. With it. Doesn't actually try anything rainy that isn't rainy and flat, unless it's flat. Oh well. But I suppose those flat rainy areas can be used someday for condensers for supply cars. Maybe this base, which might be one of the first places to do a HAP complex. Time the condenser's done, the base already be size 5. Be helpful to keep growing up to size 9. This is going to go here. Scout first in case it was not safe there, visibly, like mine worms in the open. Get started on a farm there. Maybe. Could do a condenser, or could do a solar collector. It's not ideal. There might be some waste, but it won't reduce food output. Probably. Oh, I know. Farm mine. I'll probably do a condenser on this flat tile to get that up to rainy. Or, better yet, no, because I can plant a forest to north. Or here, because it's in the base radius. Here. Point being, condenser to support a tile actually work in the condenser eventually get overgrown by a forest is the hope. And if not, there's a forest still be able to work. Don't have condensers on them. Why the heck did I think it was good to stack an extra former? That was dumb. Oh well. I don't think I saved before this. Condenser there. Just pre-doing stuff so that I know what I'm up to. That's some way suboptimal. Getting it stuck, they might want to pull back, maybe. Terraforming orders cancel when a mine worm comes in range, though. Think of that preference. Stop for... No, actually not. It's just a warning anyhow. Just have to, what's the skip turn space? A little iffy about pressing it. It's easy to get sticky and obliterate base, you can do that. There's an upgrade unit thing. Oh, I could upgrade to laser squads. 30 energy for one row of stuff. I'm not gonna do it, but it makes sense. Anyways, skip turn. I could do it for something its primary duty is worm duty. Well, this former, very unlikely to suffer collateral with a hardened scout patrol guard. Well, not very, but somewhat less likely at least. Still, I should have probably had it in the base, where it can't suffer collateral damage even if the base is attacked, and then moved it next turn on the river. Minor mistake. I make a lot of those when I'm tired, but I'm always tired with my long COVID. It's sometimes just worse than others. Alright. Got a rover here. Support from Planetary Trust. Or I'll rush this next turn. Seeing where it really needs to be. Well, let's patrol on this open terrain in case it worms out in the open. Nope, but it would have been good to know if there was one. Next turn, the rover can pull into Forest Agency. Just 3 mineral, be down to 2. This with 1.
Request confirmation.
So I don't want to swap to support from there. Still, the rover provides backup in case of worms that approach the base. Flat, rainy tile. Could put condenser in the hope of a condenser on the forest condenser mix tile. So we're just playing a forest. Turns to growth. Next energy would just go to waste. Yeah, I've got the time. I'll do a condenser, I guess. Maybe after a road, though. That's a higher priority. 2 turns? Why is it? Oh, the river. Anyways, I should connect up to the monolith with a road. Come back later for the condenser. Maybe I won't bother though. Free condenser I'm doing that with currently I can work and am working in this case. In one forest agency once the base grows enough. Might even do it here. This one supports turning these rolling arid tiles to rainy rolling with farms with the condenser on the tile. Yeah, it doesn't make sense if it's just a tile that won't be worked until a forest grows. It's not. Okay. Like thinking out loud for you guys to indicate what I'm considering, but maybe you find it irritating. I don't know. Apologize if you folks do. It's not such a big deal stacking rovers for a turn. What? Actually, I'm worried about the Spartans. Let's see if this can't get back to defense command. Made it. So it can keep going south after. Or take over this one. This rover that's kind of providing backup support. Yeah, let's do that. Not prepared enough for the Spartans at all. Mm-hmm. 74 minutes in this video. Wow. Try not to end turns on fungus. No obvious evidence of a faction there, but might just not have this in their borders yet. Can you see borders if you haven't found the faction units yet? Maybe not. Got the time to put my head west, see what I find before coming back to support the transport foil.
Turn complete.
Boom, because if I tried to move around the pod, there's a 2/3 chance it would fail and I'd be stuck in a fungus. Nice, I found nutrients off the coast here. You're a nice little island for a base. One tile that I don't have to dig out a fungus. 2 rolling moist tiles, I can just get right to work on the so go ahead, dig one out, put a condenser on it. Condenser farm, the other becomes a farm mine. So island bases never have enough minerals. And then surrounding oceans will eventually get kelp farms, which at least support themselves in food. Even if without an aqua farm, I think they only produce 3. Yeah, nutrients, and it'd be capped down to 2. The mining platform, it's 2, so actually maybe I do mining platforms for now. And a farm tidal harness here. Terraforming plans, I know, boring. Anyhow. I think that's almost everything. Oh yeah, Forest Agency. I already rushed that.
Request confirmation.
Eat for 2. No, thank you.
Request confirmation.
It's next to 3. Here. Effectively cost me a mineral. So 3 energy and mineral to have rover 1 turn sooner. Mineral and support. 3 energy to have it turn sooner in the so to where it's support turn longer. Not worth it. I will find a faction. And I will try and buy techs. And I will use probe team actions like quite heavily on Spartans. You can also do thought control on bases and now buy out the garrison as well as the base. Can be useful. There's a base with a lot of units on it, although I think the cost goes up with more garrison. So Santiago is the population reader again. Must have an awful lot of people in their bases. I need to get some probe teams in their territory. 3 more years. 3 more years and I'll know what the heck they're up to in greater detail. Although, the length this video is gone, I'm going to have to cut this. So I guess that'll be next video, or it might be a while. I'm getting so tired, it might be better if I do something else. It requires less brain power. So I wish you folks the best. Take care of each other. Be kind to yourselves, and may you always find a guiding star leading home. Until next time, this is Northstar. Adieu. Best luck.